Hello, welcome to Magic. This is Richard, and today I'm bringing you another of our Bring Your Own Identity Provider videos. Last time I did one with Firebase, link to that one below. But today I'm doing it with Auth0. But if this is your first time and you haven't seen the other one, well then what is all of this? If you want to implement Magic's SDK and provision, wallets, Web3 wallets for your users, especially non-custodial wallets, you're going to be wondering, well, how do I do that if I already have an app and I already have Auth0 and I have a deep user base, or I want to create a very Web2 traditional application where the user logs in with email, password, no signing, no wallets, no nothing. It just happens all under the hood. Well, you're gonna wonder, how do you implement Auth0 into an app, or how do you implement Magic SDK into that? Because we traditionally we offer our own identity provider, and so if you've looked through our docs and you're like, well, that's like Magic's identity system, I have my own. Well, I'm here to answer that question. I'll be going over this page in our docs. It is a bring your own IDP. There are some things in here I won't go over that I assume you know. I won't go over what is OIDC, what is OAuth, what are JWTs, all that stuff. You don't need to be a pro on it. I'm not either, but just generally, you know what they are. I'm going to assume you have a Magic developer account. If you don't have one, click Start Now on magic.link and create your dev account. Obviously, you're also going to need a Auth0 account. Go create an account there. Go create an application, but I'll go through that flow too if you haven't. And you're also going to need something like Postman, where you can make API calls to our configuration endpoint. So, lastly, you're also going to want to know how to write React.js. With that out of the way, let's jump straight into this doc. And we'll be jumping around a lot, you guys. And so just don't get confused and maybe even have this set up so you don't get lost, okay? You want to be on the Magic developer account and have an app open. You're going to want to be on this doc page and have Auth0 application. And also I'll be going to the Auth0 React SDK documentation page, and Postman and whatnot, whatever API, tool you use. So have it all up, and I'll try to go as slow as possible, but I can't go too slow. All right, so going to the docs again here, we have this available in our growth plan. If you're subscribed to that, we also have some explanation here of what all that stuff is. OpenID docs, go ahead and open that, read that. It's super dry, but it's informational. It's available. Our OIDC extension is available for web, iOS, Android, React Native, Flutter. And here's how you configure, okay? And you might be asking, why do you need to configure? Well, when you create an Auth0 application, which I'll just do right now while we're talking about it, when you create an Auth0 application, which is named whatever you name it, single page app, React, what happens is they're going to issue you a client ID or an audience, as we call it. This ID is your Auth0 application ID, and this domain is going to, for at least Auth0, they use the same URL across all your different applications. I think unless you pay extra to have that customized. But in any case, with these two pieces of information, when a user logs in to your application, And of course, you've implemented Auth0 as your login. When they log in, they're actually logging in through the identity provider that is Auth0. And after a user is authenticated, you can request an ID token. And that ID token is a JWT that contains some claims in it. And with that, you can reach out to Auth0's endpoint, like a verification endpoint, to check the validity of that ID token. And so, kind of giving you the bigger picture, when a user logs into your application where you've implemented Auth0, and you want to create a wallet for this user in a non-custodial way, because Magic handles key management, you're going to be not only configuring this app in our backend, but when the user logs in, you will be providing that ID token to us. I might add, make the ID token lifespan short because we don't really need it for that long. But you'll provide it to us, and in our backend, because you've configured what we're going to do right now, we will take that ID token and run it by Auth0 to check if it's valid. And based off of that, we will create, and on subsequent logins, we will return the encrypted private key for your user, aka the wallet. So that's why we need to have you configured in our backend. Otherwise, we don't know about your identity provider setup. And so some of the things that we require from you is the issuer, which is that URL that I showed you earlier on the Auth0 app, the audience or the client ID for Auth0's, in their case, name your app. Sandbox mode is false, but if you want it to be true, then you can test without having to go through an Auth0 authentication every time. It's always going to take the ID token that you provide us and not even enforce the expiry claim and the API key. And we allow you to configure this via API. So let's copy this post endpoint. And in this endpoint, you're going to put some information about your app in the headers, some information about your config via the body, and we'll return to your response with some information, which I will go over as soon as we do it. So let's go over here, and you'll notice I kind of already been playing around with it. I am going to go to the app that I just created, get the private or get the secret key, and you should not be revealing this. Do not reveal your secret key on a YouTube video like me if you're going to be then using this secret key on your production app. Just throwing that out there. All right, so in the headers, we're going to post that in. And in the body, I'm going to go get the client ID. I've already had the issuer in, naming it. Keep in mind that if you just copied it this way, like that, the HTTPS won't be there and everything, which shouldn't really matter sometimes, but some identity providers are pretty picky about that. So if you're working with a different identity provider, just know that some are strict, super strict, and some aren't. Okay, and so I'm going to then send this post call. I am going to get some information back, and you'll notice that the issuer is in the discovery URI, where it's affixed with this. Is like industry standard stuff for OpenID. Again, not everyone does it. And then this JWKS URI, this is what we're running we're running the ID token against to see if that token is valid. This, again, industry standard, but not all identity providers do this, right? And so if you're working with a different auth provider, watching this video, just keep in mind that not everything I say is going to line up perfectly. All right, so we're going to save this for the time being. Keep special attention to this ID that's returned. This is the provider ID. and we'll get back to where you need this, but we will need that, okay? If there's any mistakes you made here, you can always hit the patch endpoint, provide that provider ID to the path, and send a new body in. Whatever is passed in is what's updated. Whatever you don't pass in, then it stays the same, okay? Now, installation. Let's spin up a React application. Let's do npx create React app, and we'll name it Auth0 demo. And oh, okay, no capital letters. All right, that's fine. npx create React app Auth0 demo. And what we're going to do is, we're not going to do the quick start. If you watch my previous videos, you'll be like, hey, Richard usually uses that quick start thing, npx make magic. It quickly scaffolds a cool Next.js app that is like all in one. It's already ready, and you can do that. But I don't feel like doing that today, because I always do that, and I just want to do something different. And today we're doing something different. Remember, it's function over form today, so like I'm not gonna like do anything cool in the application, make cool UI, because like really I just can't, and that doesn't bring me joy. And so we're gonna go over the function. So let's go into Auth0 demo. Let's open this up. And it's been a long time since I've like done this. What changed? Let's take a look here. What has changed? Not much. Not much at all. But I'm sure under the hood, a lot's changed. Okay. So, where the code at? All right, let's see. I like to go in here and just like rip everything out, because like I'm not gonna do any of this. I wish I was the person that did stuff like that, but I don't do that. Like I don't want any of this. All this stuff just confuses me. Get it out of here. I just want super simple index.js. I got rid of you, so get out of here. Same with you. In app.js, I get rid of all of this. Well, maybe not. Keep import the CSS. I don't really like this either. I'll keep you. I'll let you stay. I don't like any of this. I'm going to name my stuff. I'm going to do main. I don't want to do div. Hi. And let's see what we got. Okay, cool. Hi. I centered something. Wow. So we got that out of the way. I'm just going to include like a button in here, and the button's going to say something like login via Auth0. Okay. And so right now it doesn't do anything. What are we going to do? Let's talk about this, right? The button click. We want to log someone in via Auth0. So let's go back to the Auth0 SDK documentation. And, we did this. We created the app, notated the domain and client ID, right? Because we configured it with Magic. I am developing on localhost 3000. So let's take that and whitelist it in with Auth0 as a configured callback, configured logout, and allowed web origin. So let's go here and add that into callbacks, logout URLs and web images. And like, we don't need it for that long. 36,000 seconds. What is 36,000 seconds? $36,000 seconds to USD. I do BTC or ETH to USD very often, so force that habit. Let's see, 600 minutes. Yeah, don't do that. That ID token, you know, is proof of auth, and so you don't want to have it be alive for that long. Like 600 seconds is fine. Yeah, this is totally fine. So I'm going to do that, and let's save changes. All right. Now, let's install the stuff. Let's install all the dependencies that we need. Let me just do it this way. Okay. YAMI Magic SDK. What else do we need? We're going to go here and look up the Auth0 package. All right, add that in. Let's also go back to the Magic docs and realize that we need the OIDC extension. Okay, so we need the Magic SDK, the Magic OIDC extension, and the Auth0 package. And so these three put together will let you log a user in with Auth0, get Magic to create non-custodial wallets for your users. Now, you'll probably need other things too, like Web3 or Ethers or VM or whatnot to the Web3 side. We won't go over that today. But our quick start demo has implementation on that, so you can check that out for sure. In the source, let's just create a magic.js. We're going to import Magic from Magic SDK, and we'll do export const magic, pass in the constructor. I'm going to put in the actual PK API key. We're going to do that. Extensions in an array. We will call this. And where's the API key? Back to the Magic developer account. Get my API key. Boom. Saved. And let's bring it out to here. Import Magic from Magic. All right. Now, let's just see. Magic, are you there? Magic's not there. Magic extension OpenID. Is it OpenID? Let's see what the docs say. Oh, OIDC. Magic extension OIDC. Okay. Great. So here's Magic. The instance of Magic, I should say. And so we'll close this. Don't need it anymore. And go back to the Auth0 docs. It says here, install Auth0 React SDK. And then configure the Auth0 provider. And so let's do that in the root. And so we'll copy this. This is getting the provider out of that package that we just installed. Let's see, we'll go to the root. And we'll do it right over here. We'll do Auth0 provider, and we'll move that down, move this out, get rid of that, and in here, domain client ID authorization params. Okay, so we're going to add that right there. The domain we get from Auth0, the domain, and we'll come back to the client ID. Client ID. All right. And with the location origin. It's going to be localhost 3000. Yeah, let's see what happens. Okay, so we wrapped the root in the Auth0 provider. Now, checkpoint. Let's see that the SDK is initializing properly. And there are no errors related to Auth0. Okay, and it says here now that we can use a hook to pull out the login with redirect. So we'll do that in app. Pull this out. Let's do const pull out the login with redirect from the hook, and in this button, we will add the event handler. There we go. And we're not using Magic yet. It's okay. Let's go back here. We'll refresh. And if I click on this, cool. So that is the login with redirect. And seems I already have kind of like a valid session from a previous login. Richard plus tester at magic.link. Let's accept. Now I'm back. Presumably I am logged in via Auth0. And we can check that by, yep, that's all good. I'm all good. We'll add the logout function, but let's also see if we can do, oh, here we go, is authenticated user and logout. So let's pull out a few other items from this hook here. Let's do user is authenticated and logout. And I actually want to see console.log. I want to see the user. If I'm logged in, that information should be there. So I am logged in, and I didn't go to the password part because I must have already had like a valid session or something. So let's implement the logout button because I'll show you and start over again with that. So let's do logout, and on this button we're going to add on click logout. Okay, and I'm going to be changing all of this again because I just realized you should not just log out of Auth0. If you're implementing Magic and Auth0, make sure you log out of both Auth0 and Magic. There are technically two sessions. One is the Auth0 session, one is the Magic session. And it would be weird to log the user out of their Auth0 session, but have that signing session essentially still alive. Luckily, it's a weaker one, as in like if you close a tab or a browser, it's wiped, and so you'll have to call our login function again. But I'll show you that in a second. I'm gonna log out. There we go. Okay, if I try to log in now, there. That's what I wanted to show you. Okay, so we're back. Is authenticated. We'll keep this around. Okay, now the magic side of things. When someone clicks on login with redirect, that takes them through that whole flow, right? But what about the magic part? You can add the magic part wherever you want. You can add it when the user logs in immediately. You can add the magic part later on in the flow where you don't really want the user to have a wallet immediately, but you want them to be able to sign, interact with their wallet maybe somewhere down the line along the flow of the user journey, right? That's really up to you. It's max customizability. And so what you're doing here is you're going to be calling this login method, okay? Magic instance, OpenID, login with OIDC. You'll pass in the ID token that you get from Auth0 and that provider ID that I talked about. Now, what token? The ID token. This ID token is what you get from Auth0, and you get it through this function, through the hook. It's called get ID token claims. And the way I'm thinking of implementing this is I am going to close index first. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add like a user effect in here. And in this use effect, I'm going to check if user is authenticated. And if it is, I'm just going to give them like essentially call the magic login function. It's not really a login, despite the name. What it's doing is it's provisioning a wallet session for the user so that the authenticated user, hence the prereq, okay? The authentication through Auth0 is the prereq to then being able to call our login method so that they have the wallet session so that they can actually access their private key and sign with it. So let's implement that. Okay, so in the use effect, we'll do, dude, that's crazy how it knows how to do that. If is authenticated, what we're gonna do is get ID token claims. Let's see how it says these. Okay, we're gonna pull the token out of it. Okay, so dot then, and we'll do token, and with said token, we are going to call magic dot open ID. Is it open ID? Give me a second, you guys. It's open ID. That's the module. Magic dot open ID dot login with OIDC. Is it all capital? Yeah. And we'll pass in the JWT and the provider ID. Okay, so we'll do JWT. Token is what we're getting from this get ID token call, get ID token claims call. There's a property on it that's __ raw. It's the actual like JWT string. The provider ID is going to be what I was talking about earlier. That ID token, or the ID that you get from that response here when you first configured us. So you're going to want to save this. I am just simply going to copy it and paste it in here, hard code it. Okay. And so if user is authenticated, pass that into as a dependency. What else? Probably magic as well. Get ID token. Yeah. Get token claims. Okay. And I don't really need this, but I'll just show it. I'll just show it. Okay. So what's going to happen is when I log in, it is going to take me through the redirect, it'll log me in, it'll bring me back to the app. This use effect will run. I will be authenticated. It will get the token from the get ID token claims function. It will pass the JWT string and the provider ID. These two pieces of information will be transmitted to us. We will use the provider ID to figure out what the configuration is and pass that JWT to the verification endpoints to make sure it is actually an authenticated user, like a properly authenticated user by Auth0, and then we will provision the wallet. Before I do this, I'm going to console log the user just to show you that the user is logged in. But really, the is authenticated should do that. But I'll just leave it here just because I want to see which user is logging in. Okay, so saving that. Back to the React app. Do a reload. User is undefined. Log in with Auth0. Richard at magic.link. Password. All right, I'll accept. And that's run. I realize there's no way to prove that the wallet's being returned. So what I'm going to do is after this call down here, let's do a magic.user.getInfo then user info, and I'll just console log the user info just to show you. And I'm going to log out, and we'll try that again. All right, redirect. There's the user. And magic has occurred. The email is null because you're not using Magic's email login methods, right? It's your login. It's Auth0's, I should say. But there you go. That's the public address of the user. Now, if you do some like sign message or send transaction, under the hood, it would just occur. Ta-da. You're welcome. If you go to your application for users, there you go. There it is. Like this is the Auth0. I believe that's a subclaim. It's the unique identifier that Auth0 has issued to this user, and with this, you can probably like link it up in your Auth0 application, like your users management. You'll find that. So I don't want to stop right here because I also want to show you that this is not the right way to do the logout. So let's do const handle logout, and here I'm going to on the logout just call handle logout, and we'll do logout for Auth0, and we'll do magic.user.logout. Okay, this is just it's good practice because if you log out of only Auth0, that magic session is still live, and so that's weird, right? As opposed to if you did it like this way, if you just log the magic side user out, they lose access to the citing operation, their key management essentially, but they're not really logged out of Auth0, and so they can still like get access to your protected routes, and so I would suggest You use the Auth0 for auth-related things, protect your pages, to display the user-specific information, and only use Magic for key operation stuff. So before you sign a transaction, always check magic.user.is_logged-in, true or false. If it's true, go ahead with the transaction. If it's false, recall this login, reissue that session for that user. Okay, so I'm going to do both here. Save, back to the application, and logout logs them out of both. Okay, the names are a little bit confusing because it's like, well, this is a login with OIDC. It's really not a login though. Okay, there's no login at all. The login's already happened with Auth0. You are just provisioning a wallet based on that login. Okay, and the logout here, this is not really a logout. This kills the session for Magic, the Magic session. You're going to want to log the user out from Auth0 and kill the Magic session. So that's kind of it. There's a lot of other functions from the use Auth0 hook that you should play with. There's a whole lot of other Magic related methods that you can play with. I won't go over all of them in this video, but stretch go if you want. Add some signing or send transaction in here. That's why you're here, right? You're here to create a Web3 application for your user to like sign messages or send transactions or do some really cool stuff. And this is not where it ends. This is where it begins. So thank you for walking through this with me. I hope you found this very useful if you are building an application using Auth0 and Magic's SDK. I will include links to as much of the things that I used today or referenced in the description below. And looking forward to the next video or you reaching out and talking to us. Thank you very much. Have a good day.